All right, let's bring in the jury.
Please stand for the jury.
The jury, the defendant, and all counsel. Mr. Martinez.
The state calls Michael Gallietti to stand.
Right up here, sir.
Can you spell your last name, please?
G-A-L-I-E-T-I.
Raise your right hand. You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Thank you.
So please walk right around here and have a seat.
Your name, sir?
Michael Gallietti.
And who do you work for?
I work for the city of Cottonwood Heights Police Department.
And are you a police officer?
I am a police officer.
How long have you worked with the Cottonwood Heights Police Department?
About 4.5 years.
And what state is Cottonwood Heights?
The state of Utah.
And prior to working with the Cottonwood Heights Police Department, did you work for another police department?
Yes, I worked for the West Jordan Police Department in Utah.
And in June of 2008, what were your duties with the West Jordan Police Department?
In June of 2008, I was an police officer for West Jordan Police Department. I was working community policing and patrol.
And as a patrol officer, did you ride a bike, a motorcycle, or a car? And this is in June.
Yes, I had a car with a bicycle on the back of the car.
And on June 5th of 2008, did you have occasion to be on duty?
Yes.
And on that particular day, sometime around noon, did you make a traffic stop?
Yes.
What time was it? I know I said shortly after noon, but do you remember the exact time that the traffic stop was made?
Just afternoon, 12:02, 3.
And where was the traffic stop? Where did you make the traffic stop?
On Redwood Road in West Jordan, southbound.
And what kind of car did you stop?
As I recall, it was a white car, a Ford Focus.
And what was the reason that you stopped this Ford Focus?
I saw that the rear license plate on the car was mounted upside down.
And so you pulled the car over, and what happened? Explain to me what happened.
I approached the vehicle as I normally do on a traffic stop, introduced myself, and indicated the reason for the stop.
And the person who was the driver, who was that? The person.
I understand the driver is Jodi Arias.
Is this individual in court today?
Yes, I believe so.
And tell me where she is seated and what she is wearing.
She is seated at the defendant's table wearing black on the far left.
Your Honor, may the record reflect the identification of the defendant?
Yes.
Sir, one of the things that you just told us was that, well, I was a patrol officer, and I assume that you made numerous traffic stops back then and even now, right?
Typically, yes.
And how is it that as you sit here today, which is many years later, that you remember this particular traffic stop?
I've been a police officer more than 13 years, almost 14 years, and I've only made one stop for a vehicle with an upside-down license plate.
And that's this case here?
This, yes.
So you go up to the defendant, Miss Arias, and do you speak with her, or what happens after you tell her the reason for the stop? What did she say?
I asked why the license plate was on upside down, and as I recall, she said, "Oh, my friends must be playing a joke on me."
Does Utah require the front license plate to be on also or not?
Yes, front and back.
What do you remember the license plate on the car? Do you remember what state was involved?
As I recall, it was a California license plate.
And while you made the stop, did you see whether or not there were any other cars that may have been associated with that of the defendant stopping anywhere? Did you see another car there?
As I do recall, there was a second vehicle that pulled over after I stopped the white Ford Focus.
And where did it pull over?
If I'm not mistaken, it was in front of the car that I stopped, the Ford Focus.
And what was the defendant's demeanor, the driver's demeanor, when you were talking to her about this license plate issue in the back?
Demeanor, pleasant. I think surprised that to learn that the license plate was improperly displayed.
And did she seem at all upset about anything at the time?
I didn't notice anything unusual other than a little surprised to find that her license plate was upside down.
And that's based on her comment that she told you about that somebody's playing a joke on her.
Yes.
Did she indicate, or did you talk to her about what you wanted her to do with regard to the license plate?
Well, as I recall, everything appeared to be in order otherwise, and I just asked if she could correct that.
And about how long was this traffic stop?
I'd say it was fairly brief, 2-3 minutes.
And did you give her a citation for this upside?
I did not. It was just a verbal warning.
And this was on June 5th of 2008?
Yes.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Cross-examination.
Good morning, officer.
Good morning.
Was there, when you made this traffic stop, you mentioned that it was you noticed the license plate was upside down, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So there weren't any other traffic violations or anything else that would have motivated you to pull this car over? Is that correct?
None that I recall, no.
Okay. And have you reviewed your report recently? Would it have been documented in your report if there was any other reason?
No, I would not have made a written documentation. There would be a radio log created by the dispatch agency.
Okay. But you don't recall any other reason other than the license plate being upside down?
Just the license plate.
Okay. And that caught your attention?
Yes.
Do you remember where you were as in relation to this Ford Focus when this license plate caught your attention?
Well, what I recall is that I was southbound on Redwood Road, which is a main artery road in that community. And it's typical that I would be looking at license plates, looking for expired tags. So it would not be unusual to see something. I mean, it would not be unusual that I would initiate a stop on something as unusual as an upside-down license plate.
I understand that, and maybe I should be more specific with my question. I was asking where you were located specifically in comparison to the Ford Focus. Were you in a lane behind it? Were you in a lane to the side of it? How did you make this observation of the license plate?
I can't say specifically. I was behind the Ford Focus. Redwood Road has probably 3 lanes in each direction and a center safety lane. I can't say which lane I was in, and I can't say today which lane the Ford Focus was in.
Okay. Do you remember there, you said it's a 3-lane road. Is that 3 on each side, or is it 3 altogether?
3 southbound and 3 northbound.
Pretty busy road then, right?
Yes.
Okay. Several cars on the road?
Typically, at that time of day, there would have been moderate traffic.
Okay. So this must have been something pretty eye-catching to you, right? Seeing
Yes.
this license plate upside down?
Yes.
It stood out to you amongst all this other traffic and all these other things on the road?
I'd say yes.
Okay. And as a matter of fact, you told us that that was the only stop of that nature you'd made in, I believe, 13 years of patrol. Is that correct?
I don't recall ever seeing a license plate displayed upside down on a car operating on the road.
Okay. And you also described Miss Arias' demeanor as being surprised.
Well, she said, "Oh, my friends must be playing a trick on me."
Was there anything else about it other than what she said? Was she anything about it? Was she look surprised that you pulled her over before you started conversing with her?
Not that I recall. She was pleasant. As I recall, it was a pleasant, positive exchange.
Okay. Well, thank you, officer.
Any redirect?
In terms of whether or not the license plate stood out, wasn't it your job to look for that sort of thing back then?
Most certainly, yes. Improper display of a license plate would be a violation.
And you look at that as part of your job, right?
Yes.
And you were asked whether or not there was a report that was written in this case, and you answered, well, no, there's a traffic log. Remember saying something about that?
I believe I said a radio log.
Radio log. And what's the difference between a police report and a radio log?
A radio log is automatically created by the dispatch service, which is Valley Emergency Communications Center, and a police report is a report that I would write.
And Exhibit 386, is that the radio log?
Yes, this indicates a West Jordan
Well,
police.
don't say what that is the radio log.
That's the radio log I'm referencing, yes.
I don't have any other questions, thank you.
Any questions from the jury for this witness? I see no hands. Thank you. You may step down. The state may call its next witness.
The state calls Rafael Colombo.
Right up here, sir.
Can you spell your first and last name, please?
R-A-L-P-H-A-E-L. Joseph. Colombo. All O's.
Raise your right hand. You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Sir, right around you and have a seat, please.
Your name, sir?
Rafael Joseph Colombo.
And where do you work, sir?
Devonzo Incorporated.
And what kind of business is that?
DBA Budget Rent-A-Car.
So are you the owner of this franchise, what it sounds like?
Devonzo, correct.
And what is it that, where is this place located? Do you have more than one, or do you have many of them?
Municipal Airport in Redding, California.
And what is the business of this budget place that you have?
Renting vehicles, either leisure or business.
And how long have you had this budget rent-a-car business out in Reading?
Approximately 5 years.
And drawing your attention back to June 2nd of 2008, did you have occasion to be working?
Yes.
How is it that the renting works, just in theory, not as it applies to June 2nd? How does it work? When a person comes in?
There's a couple different ways. Either somebody will walk up unannounced and ask for a vehicle without a reservation, or they will call you on the phone and make a reservation, and or go on the website and make a reservation through one of the internet programs that offer rental cars.
And in order to rent a car, what is required? In other words, from the person? I understand that money will be eventually required, but what kind of identification? Is a credit card required? What is required?
21 and over with a major credit card, valid driver's license, and 25 and over. If you're under 25 years old, and between 21 and 25, you'll need a major credit card to rent a vehicle. If you are 25 and older, just the valid driver's license and a credit card.
Going back to June 2nd of 2008, did you have occasion to rent a car? And I'll show you exhibit number 235 and see if you recognize this particular item.
I do recognize it.
And were you the person who actually was the clerk associated with that car rental?
I was.
And is that a true and accurate copy of the car that you rented back on June 2nd of 2008? And the time was what, 8:04 in the morning?
8:04 in the morning. This would be accurate.
All right. And is that the original? It looks like to be an original. Is it, or is it just a copy?
This is the original.
All right. I may have it back. I move for the admission of exhibit number 235.
No objection.
235 is admitted.
Sir, I'm going to take it out of its packaging so we can look at it. First of all, there's 3 sheets. Is this what is the paperwork that you keep that's associated with each rental?
Yes, we'll keep those in copies.
All right. Let's take a look at the copy on top. First of all, there's the name here. Do you see that?
I do.
What's the name?
Jodi, Arias.
Is that the person that rented this car?
Yes, sir.
Is that person who rented the car, is she in court today?
Yes, sir.
Tell me where she is seated and what she is wearing.
She's dark hair in the black on the left-hand side of the desk, right there, my left.
Your Honor, may the record reflect the identification of the defendant?
Yes.
With regard to this particular transaction, what was Miss Arias' demeanor when she came up to rent this car from you?
Very pleasant.
Go ahead.
She had phoned a few times before requesting a vehicle, and that'd be ready when she gets to the counter.
So she had actually called it in?
Yes, sir.
How do you know that she actually called it in?
She stated her name.
Okay. And you had answered the phone before? Is that?
I did.
And when she called, did she request a specific car or just said, I need a car on this particular date and time?
Something dependable.
When she showed up there, was she alone or was she with somebody else?
I saw a gentleman.
So was it a guy that was with her?
Yes, I'm not sure if it was with her or not, but.
And when she was renting this car, why don't you tell us what happened, what you said, and what she said?
I had asked where she was going, and like I do with all my customers, to get familiar with them. So
What did
maybe
she
they might
say?
return. She was gonna take a small, just go around town trip, nowhere big. She did not want a car that was loud in color.
For example, did you offer her a red car or not?
I did it first.
And what did she say when you offered her a red car?
She would rather have a lighter car,
Why?
lighter color.
Did she tell you why?
She did not.
So she wanted a car that was not red, and then what happened?
Again, I asked her a little bit about who she was, and she had mentioned she was single, but just coming around town. She was very pleasant to speak to, very friendly.
And she helped or provided the information in this document, correct?
Correct.
Well, do you remember her hair color back then?
It was blonde.
And so this information that's here, is that provided by the customer, in this case, Ms. Arias? The date that she rented it is right up here, right?
That would be the date rented, the June 2nd
At,
at 800, or a little over 804.
okay, and then it says due in. Do you see that right there?
Yes, I do.
I think we know what that means, but
Her time of arrival back to bring the car would have been June 2nd also at 8:15.
June 6th, is that?
Excuse me, June 6th, yes.
And is this car the type that has unlimited miles? In other words, a person can go anywhere they want? Or can you tell here?
I could probably tell. And it should be unlimited miles, yes.
It says that right
Yep,
there. correct?
unlimited.
So if it's unlimited miles, the reason you were asking her where she was going, was it because of the mileage issue or was it something else?
Certain vehicles that we get in might need an oil change in a certain, they're to be oil changed every so often.
Right.
And if not, we get penalized for letting them go over their preventive maintenance. So I'm always asking where they're going to find out what sort of vehicle I'm going to give them.
And there are these initials, and there is a signature on this particular document, correct?
Yes, sir.
How long did this whole conversation or renting the car take?
Probably a little over 15 minutes.
And, well, let's look at it. What kind of car did you rent her?
White Ford Focus.
Were you there when the car was returned?
Yes, sir.
And were you the person that checked the car in?
Yes, sir.
Did you notice anything unusual about the car when you were checking it in, this white Ford Focus?
I did.
Why don't you tell me what you noticed?
After the conversation that I had with her, I had thought she would be local miles. And in turn, the car had a little bit more miles than I thought on it for being local, so it struck me.
Let's look at Exhibit 237.001. How many miles are we talking about there that you saw?
The 1,925 miles it had leaving.
But you
Miles in were 4,758.
But if you take a look up here, how many total miles?
Driven 2,834.
Did you talk to her about that? Or
I
at
thought
all?
it was very, very odd, and I did.
And what did she say?
I just decided to take a little bit longer trip.
And did she say where she went or anything?
She did not.
When the cars come back, do you just leave them like that? Do you send them somewhere to be cleaned? Exactly what is it that happens?
We have detailers that clean the vehicles.
Were you able to look at the car before the detailers got a hold of it?
I did myself.
Oh, so you actually cleaned it yourself then?
I didn't, but I go out there and usually do a walk around to make sure there's no rock chips dents, scratches, and interiors.
And what did you notice about the inside of the car?
There were stains on the back seat.
And what was
And
the
a
color of the stains?
It appeared to be Kool-Aid.
Okay. And were those cleaned up?
I took it upon myself to go there and clean it.
How about anything in the front seat areas? Did you notice anything there?
I did.
What did you notice?
The same Kool-Aid stain, which I thought maybe she had kids in the vehicle.
Which seat had the Kool-Aid stains?
The passenger and the back seat in the middle.
And which the one had the larger of the stains, the front or the back?
The back.
And how about the floor mats? Did the car go out with floor mats?
They do.
And were all the floor mats there when it was returned?
They were not.
And is that the front and the back, or just the front that we're missing?
All of them were missing.
I don't have any more questions, thank you.
Cross-examination.
Thank you, Good morning, sir.
Morning.
I want to make sure I understood you correctly. Are you the owner or the manager of this budget rent-a-car, or are you maybe both?
No, I do business as Budget. I'm not an employee of Budget's. I don't work for Budget. I own Devonzo Inc., which we do business as.
Okay. So you're a franchise owner? of
Independent
Budget?
contractor.
Okay. But you do business as a budget rent-a-car?
As Budget Rent-A-Car, but I have, like I said, there's nothing as far as me working for them.
Okay. I think I understand that. Are you familiar with the business practices of budget rent-a-car, then, having run one for a while?
Yes,
Okay. And how long have you run the budget rental car?
a little over 5 years.
Okay. And this is at the Redding Airport, correct? Redding, California?
Correct, yes, sir.
Okay. Based on your experience and knowledge of the business practices with budget rent-a-car, do you know, do they associate with or contract with any companies like Orbitz.com or some of these search engines that let you compare rental car prices throughout companies?
Yes, sir.
They do that?
Yes.
Okay. And are you aware when you get the car rental whether or not what the source was of where it came from?
There's a code in there, and sometimes I could, maybe not what company, Orbitz, but I do know that they either made it via the 800 number or online.
Okay. And is that something that's on the form, or is that something on some paperwork we don't have with us?
It would be on the reservation itself, which we don't have.
Okay. And then when Miss Arias called you, that was a follow-up based on a reservation that had already been made, correct?
No, I'm not aware. I don't know.
Okay, you don't know.
No, I didn't see her in the system earlier. I mean, I can't recall whether I saw her in the system or not, but I do know that she called me.
Okay, all right. And she called you to ensure that a vehicle would be ready, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When you rent a car to a person, and we just looked at the form, somebody doesn't just show up with cash and take the car, right?
We don't accept cash.
Okay. My point is, I guess you need some ID?
You do?
Okay. And what do you need, a driver's license?
A valid driver's license and a major credit card.
Okay. Do you photocopy the driver's license?
We do not.
Okay. But you verify it?
We verify it
Okay.
in our system.
And you gain a set of valid credit card as well. Do you run that, put a deposit on it? How does that work before the person takes the car out of the
The
lot?
credit card is swiped through a machine on the keyboard, and it is verified whether it has funds in there or not through the
Okay.
swipe.
Is there a certain amount of funds that you might check, or in that regard, or how does that work?
It might have been different back there, but right now with a major credit card, it's either $200 or the amount of the rental,
Okay.
whatever's greater. They're gonna minimum $200. They're
Okay.
gonna hold.
And what about insurance? Do you verify someone's insurance, or how does that work?
We don't offer insurance. We offer coverage. So we ask the customer and explain to them some of the coverages that we offer.
Okay, but if they decline the coverage, do they have to show you proof of insurance in some other form, like I'm with this company or that company?
They usually bring that.
Okay. Do you remember from this car rental whether or not Miss Arias did that or not?
I don't recall.
Okay. And you said you had at least a 15-minute interaction with her?
At least.
Okay. And was that when she provided you the information, her address, phone number, things of that nature?
Correct.
Okay. She wasn't hesitant about any of that?
Nope.
Okay. And then this interaction continued as it related to the type and color of the car that she wanted. Is that correct?
Yes, usually with my customers, like I said, I get to know them, and I usually offer them different vehicles that I might have on my lot that might suit them.
Okay. And I believe you said, one of the things you said to me when we spoke a while back was that it was your custom and practice to kind of get to know your customer, speak with them a while, that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Correct. Okay. And she wasn't evasive in any way to your conversation, correct?
She wasn't.
Okay. That's all the questions I have, Judge. Thank you.
Correct.
You did indicate that you do verify their driver's license, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Let's take a look at exhibit number 235. Does this have a place for a driver's license on it? Do you see that there? Let me show you another exhibit. Take a look at exhibit 241. Up here you have 4 last numbers of 7137. You see that up there?
I do.
And in front of you, you have a driver's license, right?
Yes, I do.
And does that have the last 4 digits of that driver's license or what?
It does.
And what are they?
7137.
So that's the driver's license that's involved, correct?
Correct.
And the name on that driver's license is who? That you have in front of
Jodi,
you?
Arias. Yeah, it matches the contract.
Okay. Move for the admission of exhibit 241.
No objection.
241 is submitted.
Let's take a look at it. It's a little bit. There we go. And the address there, it's a P.O. Box 622. So does a person, obviously a person does not have to list the residential address where they live. They can just give you a P.O. Box and then rent something.
Restate your question.
In terms of renting, do you require that they give you a driver's license with a residential address, or is a P.O. Box okay?
We're in a rural area, so P.O. boxes, especially at that time, were fine. They're trying to readjust that where they would need a physical address, but back then, P.O. boxes were accepted.
And your cars that you rent, does California require them to have both a front and a back license plate?
Yes.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Any questions from the jury for this witness? I see no hands. Thank you. You may step down.
Detective Flores.
Detective, you are still under oath. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Your name?
Esteban Flores.
And yesterday, before we left, we were actually viewing an item, weren't we?
Yes, we were.
Let's see if we.
And you went there intentionally to do this. And you're ashamed of it. You're so ashamed that you will come up with a story to try to hide it.
I was there that day, but I didn't do Travis's wife.
You gotta convince me. I mean, I hope you can convince the jury, but I doubt it very seriously. Because there's no evidence of anybody else being there. Nobody. And we're still not done looking at all the evidence. We still have other things to check in the lab and other blood swabs and other things like that. And every time they call me and tell me, hey, we've checked this, points at Jodi. Hey, we've checked that, that points at Jodi. Nothing points at anybody else. Do you want to be truthful with me? If not, we can just end it now. And we'll just leave it the way it is.
I know that it's obvious I was there.
No, it's obvious that you committed a crime, that you hurt
There's
Travis.
no reason for
No,
me to hurt him.
it's not like that. It's. I know that you did this, and you refuse to tell me why.
There's no
You
reason.
refuse to tell me why. There's no reason somebody else would come in and do this to him. There's no motive whatsoever. We haven't found any.
What is my motive?
Jealousy, anger, fear, if you're being alone, angry at him for not keeping you in his life. I don't know. That's why I'm trying to figure it out. There are so many motives with you. Too many. We know you had a 25 auto. You guys reported it stolen. Recovered the ammunition and it matches. We recovered a shell casing. It matches the ammunition. Prints, your blood, your hair, the motive.
There's
You
no
were there.
I wasn't jealous of anything. I was a little bit envious that he was going to Cancun, but that wasn't the reason. Like, I could go to Cancun. It's not cheap to go to Mexico. I mean, it's not expensive to go to
I
Mexico.
know. You were probably standing above him when he was in the shower. And you shot him in the head.
I was kneeling down beside him looking at the
Jodi.
pictures.
And then you had a knife. And you stabbed him. Several times. Yes, you did. Jodi. Tell me the truth. Please. Or if you want, we can stop here. It doesn't matter. You've given me so much already. Why stop? Do you want to? Do you want to continue? Do you want to tell me the truth?
in my possession.
Joni, you did.
Never. I don't have it.
Yeah, you don't have it. People say that when they know of the gun. They've seen the gun. They touched the gun. You don't have it.
I saw the gun.
Yeah. But you had it before. You've touched it. You've used it. I know you have.
I don't think I've ever even fired a gun. I've done bows and arrows, but not guns. And water guns, yes, but not a real gun. And the gun that I got on Friday was never used.
So you're going to continue to tell me that you didn't do this to him?
Did not kill Travis.
I believe you did. I truly believe you did. And there's nothing showing that anybody else did this. Nothing. I've been in so many scenes and so many investigations, and there's always some type of evidence left behind, no matter how careful somebody is. And in this case, there was evidence. Not pointing at anybody else, just you. And that's what I have to go by. And that's what my report's going to say.
Okay. If I had planned to hurt him in any way, I'm not the brightest person, but I don't think I could stab him. I think I would have to shoot him continuously until he was dead, if that were my intention. And again, I bring up the gloves again, but I would have to wear gloves, because, I'm not too worried about prints. I guess they're all over anyway, but I would never stab him. If I had it in me anywhere to kill him, the least I could have done was make it humane as possible, or quick, or something, I don't think killing is humane, so to speak. I don't mean it that way, I just mean...
I know what you mean.
He was still alive.
Yes, he was. He was alive for a while. And I knew that he'd been shot first, and he was still alive, and possibly tried to get away, maybe even tried to fight back.
I think he was in shock. I just remember waking up and...
But you didn't see him fight back or anything, did you? He just kind of collapsed there, and...
No, he was here. Outside of the shower.
And then you pulled him this way, you tried to get away with him, but then he couldn't go any further.
He said he couldn't move.
Yeah.
He said he couldn't feel his
And that's
legs.
the last place you saw him. You said that he stopped and kind of collapsed right there. She was standing there, and he was over here, and it just doesn't make any sense.
He was still, able to move. He was all, I guess he was all conscious up here, sort of, still. He wasn't, on his leg, or on his knees, or on his feet. He wasn't walking.
Just crawling.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I would have got him from there. He was sort of using his legs, but he wasn't standing up.
Yeah. If you're going to continue on that route, I don't think I'm going to go any further.
I don't remember what time I left, but...
I gave you an opportunity. This was your only opportunity. Okay, and you gave me the information that you were there, but I knew you were there. And then you throw some story in that is not plausible. It just doesn't make any sense with the evidence that was there at the house. It doesn't make any evidence at all, or any sense at all. That evidence tells a story. And nowhere in that evidence does that story that you told me match. It doesn't match. Is that how you want to leave it? You want to stop here, and that's how you want to leave it?
I know that I didn't take Travis's life. And I know
Well,
that you
I know
don't.
you did.
Look, I know you don't believe me.
I don't believe you.
as long as I am here, someone else is happy. And it's not them.
So you're just gonna let these two people get away with it?
There's not even any way to identify them. One was male, one was female. They were taller than me. Not by a whole lot.
Are you ready to go back?
Yeah, I guess I'd still like to say something to his family, but I don't think I have anything that could bring them comfort.
Okay.
Maybe I could write them a letter.
Well, you always have that opportunity to do that, so
Would they receive it?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't mean would they accept it. I mean if it made it to them, would they get it? Do you know?
Yeah, I don't have their. I'm not going to provide you their address.
I know his
They know
grandmother's
where you're going to be, and if they want to make contact with you, they can do that.
That's fine. I know his grandmother's address, and I guess if I could mail it, but
Okay.
I don't know if that's something.
Well, let me see if I can get someone to take it back. You're absolutely sure you want to leave it like this?
I don't know what else to say.
That's it then. Okay, the next time I see you will probably be in Phoenix. Is that cool?
I have a choice.
Well, you're going there regardless, so it doesn't matter. But I was hoping that we could resolve this here. And it's obvious by what you're telling me, you don't want to resolve this here.
I just can't.
Well, at the beginning you told me that you couldn't tell me because you couldn't tell me who they were because you didn't want your family to get hurt.
I can't
Okay.
let my family.
And now you're telling me you don't know who they are, and therefore it doesn't matter. So there's nothing you can tell me.
I can give you the
So
best
many
description.
inconsistencies that I don't even want to deal with right now.
Okay, I just don't want my family to get hurt.
Okay? They won't get hurt. You're hurting them right now by not telling me the truth. That's what you're doing. Okay?
Judge, may we approach?
Examination.
I should indicate I don't have any other questions at this time.
Thank you, Your Honor. Detective, it's been a while since you and I talked. We've seen numerous clips throughout the past few days. Before we talk about what we saw on those clips, I want to go back to some of the things we discussed, or you discussed with Mr. Martinez a while back. You and I had talked about your interview with Miss Arias on the 15th of July. Remember talking to me about that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And we talked about some of the things that you said in there about Mr. Alexander portraying himself a certain way, but he's not. Do you remember us discussing that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And we also talk about referring to Mr. Alexander and Miss Arias, how they kept their relationship hidden from everybody else. Recall we talked about that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And one of the final things we talked about is that you had made the comment that maybe you were...
Hearsay, relevance.
May we approach?
You may.
And Detective, a few days back, we also talked about your comment to Miss Arias that you were just going there to have a good time and something got out of hand, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, after we talked about that, Mr. Martinez talked to you about techniques, interview techniques, interrogation techniques. So that's kind of what I want to talk to you a little bit about. As you've said, I believe 19 years with the police department, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you've been trained in interview techniques?
Yes, I have.
Okay. And you've been trained in interrogation techniques?
Yes, it's the same thing.
Okay. So you would label them all the same thing?
Yes, they are.
Okay. And what label would you use, interview or interrogation?
Some courses are labeled both interview and interrogation. Some courses are just interviews.
Okay. What sort of training then in your years with the Mesa Police Department have you had regarding interviews? I'll just say interview. Well, we'll go interviews and interrogation.
When I first became a detective, I took an interview and interrogation course, about 30 hours. It was a basic course, and then I soon after that took an interview course. It's more advanced, 12 hours or so.
Okay. Is that it?
Yeah, basically, yes.
Okay. And before you became a detective, were there courses in the academy on interviewing, that sort of thing?
Yes, there are. There are some basic courses in the academy on how to contact people and how to interview people, yes.
Okay. And I suspect as well, even though we use the words interview and interrogation, you said they're about the same. There's got to be a difference in the kind of interview you're conducting if you're, say, talking to a witness versus talking to a suspect, right?
Yes, there are differences.
Okay. Could you explain that to us?
Well, obviously, when you're talking to a witness, you're trying to extract information that they saw or remembered. Interrogation is more so talking to somebody who's suspected of a crime.
Okay. So tell us then, well, these techniques that you discussed, are those different than in the type of interview in terms of the interview versus the interrogation?
Yes, they're a little different.
A little different, okay. And why are they different?
Just because of the nature of what they are. You're talking to a witness or someone who's accused of something.
Okay.
It's going to be different.
And why?
Just for the reasons I said.
Well, let me ask you this then. In terms of somebody being a suspect versus somebody just being a witness, is there a concern that somebody who's a suspect is going to be a little less forthcoming with information?
Yes, that's obvious, yes.
Okay. And that there may be a concern that they're not telling the truth, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So going back to these techniques that you were talking to Mr. Martinez about, claiming that these things were techniques, what specific techniques can you point to in terms of your interrogation that you would classify your comments as?
In this particular case, every case is different. In this case, you use evidence. Sometimes you could say, hey, I saw your fingerprint there, or I know your fingerprints were there. Maybe they really weren't there. Those are some techniques that you use.
Okay. Well, what technique were you using then when you said maybe you're going there to have a good time with him and something got out of hand? What technique is that?
That's usually what we call a theme. As you're talking to somebody, as you research their backgrounds, you kind of get a somewhat of an understanding of what their life is like and what relationships are like, and you develop a theme in that case.
Okay.
And that's the technique.
Okay. And as it relates to Mr. Alexander portraying himself a different way, and he's not really that type of guy, what kind of theme would that be, or what kind of technique would that be?
I was kind of playing on her emotions at that time.
You saw her as emotional?
No, not really.
Okay. But you were playing on it, despite the fact that you said you didn't see it, right?
I was hoping.
Okay.
Yes.
And about the relationship being hidden from everyone else, your claim was that's the technique as well.
Yes.
And what technique is that?
Same technique. I was hoping to play on her emotions.
Okay. Now, when it relates to, and it's obvious from the words you said, when Miss Arias told you about the intruders, you didn't believe her, correct?
Yes.
Okay. In terms of interrogation in those suspects, have you been trained on how to discern deception, or that there's indicators of deception?
Yes.
Okay, tell us about that.
During the same courses that I've taken, there's certain things that people do when they're deceptive. They, turn away a certain way. They, play with their clothes a lot. They, you can tell when they're, reaching in the back of their mind to try to find something to tell you.
Okay. And I believe that you said that within 30 seconds to a minute you could discern those sort of patterns. Is that right?
I don't remember saying that.
Okay. Let me ask you this. How many, and I'm sure I'm not expecting an exact number, but how many interrogations have you conducted over the years?
I don't really remember.
Hundreds?
Yes.
Thousands?
Maybe hundreds, thousands.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Okay. Now, when you talk about indicators of deception, you talked about really nonverbal indicators, what you just told me. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
You're talking about nonverbal indicators. Okay. Are there verbal indicators? Meaning in terms of what they tell you?
Could be.
Okay. Let me ask, based on your training and experience, is there, when people lie, is there, generally speaking, based on your training, an effort to throw a little truth in there to make the lie more believable?
Yes.
Okay. It has to be plausible, right? From the lie's perspective, he or she is trying to get you to say something that's or believe something plausible, right?
Yes.
And your job then as a detective, I would imagine, is to kind of sort out some of that, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, in one of your answers, there was some discussion about you attempted to find a handgun or knife, and you didn't find one. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Were there knives recovered
Yes.
at the Alexander home?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And what sort of knives did you recover?
Kitchen knives.
Okay. How many, do you know?
I don't recall off the top of my head.
Several, a set, perhaps?
A set. There was a kitchen block that was
Okay.
taken. There were knives in the washing in the wash at that time. The
Okay.
dishwasher.
And none of those will be determined to be evidence related to this crime?
We couldn't determine if they were the ones used or not.
Okay. And you said, before we get back to the interviews, you talked about you searched in the yard for the gun, for any evidence, I guess, but any weapon, right?
All around the residence, in and out.
The front yard, backyard area?
Yes.
Okay. What about the neighborhood?
We really didn't have anywhere to go.
Okay.
No.
Neighbor's yard, anything like that? You didn't look there?
Everything in the immediate area.
Okay. All right.
We looked at.
Well, let's talk about the interviews then. On July 15th, you felt as if you had enough evidence to arrest Miss Arias, correct?
Yes.
And in that regard, then, maybe complete isn't the most accurate word, but you had a fairly complete investigation, correct?
Up to that point, yes.
Up to that point, okay. Now, if I need to refresh your recollection with the videos, we can do that. But one of the first, well, we watched several, but we had one video that really centered around a period of time when you and Miss Arias were conversing about the advantages of her moving to Mesa, or her move to Mesa. She spoke about some of the advantages. Do you remember seeing that video a couple days ago?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And in that video, she made a comment to the effect that Travis told her that they could still hang out if she moved in Mesa. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And did you in your investigation later determine hanging out being a code for having sex?
No, I don't remember that.
Okay. And the other thing that was interesting about that tape was that it cut off right about the time Miss Arias was talking about Lisa. She made a comment she didn't know about him and Lisa, referring to Travis and Lisa. Do you recall that?
I don't recall that specifically. No, I don't.
Reviewing Exhibit 351, refresh your recollection, Detective.
Sure.
May we approach?
Yes.
At this time, please be back in the designated area at 1:25, and we will start promptly at 1:30. Please remember the admonition. You are excused. Have a nice lunch.